Alright, check it out, y'all. We got a loaf of bread here, and I was curious. See this here loaf of bread? Well, I could make a grilled cheese sandwich, and here's the piece of bread. But I'm curious. I'm really curious. I'm wondering when this this ceases to be a piece of bread, right? And is actually a part of the loaf itself. So here's my question for you. Let's take this piece of bread and let's back up just a little bit, and you tell me when it ceases to be a piece of bread and is actually just a loaf of bread, but it's not a piece of bread. Let me know when you think, because I'm going to reinsert it into the bag, okay? And at what point does this single piece of bread turn into a loaf of bread and it's no longer a single piece of bread? So you let me know at what point putting this inside the bag, because it's a tenth of the way there, it's a half the way there. Is it now part of the loaf, or is it still a single slice of bread? And got about 90% in, just a crumb out. And is this now part of the loaf itself? Is it merely part of the loaf, or is it a single piece of bread? You know? At what point does this single piece of bread become part of that loaf? And at what point is it a single piece of bread? Well, this sounds really stupid, man. Okay, so you tell me, if this were a human being, right? If this were a child outside of its mother's womb, at what point does it cease to be a child? At what point does it cease to be a human being? Okay? At what point, going inside of its mother's womb, is it now no longer a human being, but it's now just a fetus? Pretty absurd, right? Are you getting the picture? So, as we reinsert it, in fact, it's always been bread, hasn't it? At one point it was part of the loaf, and then at another point it was a single piece of bread all by itself. But it's still part of the loaf, even though it's separated. Some things are absolutely ridiculous, okay? Before I formed you in your mother's womb, I knew you. I know every single hair upon your head. I came that you might have life more abundantly, okay? Well, this is a moral issue. It's a very moral issue. This is a political issue. Yeah, it's a very political issue. Truth doesn't stop being truth just because you don't want to acknowledge it as being truth, okay? It is time for the children of God to get real and to stand up for life, period. Woo!